Yes, live recording on a hot summer's London evening. Oh my goodness, it's hot. I've got all the windows open. It's 33 degrees outside. Ouch. So welcome to Coffee, Eggs and Inspiration. It's a weekly show that goes out over YouTube and as a podcast over all of the major channels. And each week I get to meet inspiring people. This week I've got two. And listen to them tell their story and then share it with all of you. This week is no different. I'm joined by Jen, Scott and Jay Tavares. Welcome.
Hello. Hi.
Hello. Jen and Jay come as a pair. They are, of course, independent people, but they are co-founders, and that's why they're both with me today. Co-founders of Hustle and Heels, which is a social enterprise established to empower early-stage startups. They have a focus on female founders and predominantly Black and minority ethnic founders. So here's a fact: only 2% of venture capital goes towards female founders in the world. So this is an incredibly important organization that Jen and Jay have founded here, Hustle and Heels. I love the name too, and the colors and everything about it. It's an awesome organization. Which I've had the privilege of speaking at before. Both of them are also co-founders of Hair ID, which is a hair extension company. I think probably a little bit on hold at the moment, given that access to barbers is not what it used to be, or hair salons. Really interestingly, Hustle and Heels have got a contract with the British Library to deliver a masterclass in marketing. 3 hours over a 3 hour sort of period curriculum. 3,000 startups is the audience for that. Unbelievable. So fantastic. Welcome to you both, Jen, Jay. I'm going to call you by names when I want you to talk, so otherwise it'll be a bit funny. So Jen, maybe let's start with you. Tell me how you both met.
So we have cousins that are friends, and they met. It was back, many moons ago now, when we were young and at school. And on the weekends, we would, hang out. I'd go to my cousin's. Jay lived on the same road as still lives, well, not anymore, on the same road as her cousin. And we would just kind of hang out together, I guess. And then we went to a Saturday school together, college together, and then started a business together.
It sounds like you can't get enough of each other. Jay, what was it about Jen that made you want to work with her over so many years?
So we've told the story many a time of how Hair ID started, and it was really Jen's just kind of vision for where we could go with it. It was a one-day sale that we started, and I think she had a vision, a determination, and an excitement about starting this business and doing something big that people had never done before. That just wasn't around at that time. This is like over 10 years ago at that point when we started Hair ID, and it was just that vision, that determination and that drive that really convinced me to take that step and take that leap with Jen at that time.
And you've gone on to other things and continued that business relationship and I suppose friendship as well. This led you ultimately into Hustle and Heels. Jay, tell us about where that came from.
So Hustle and Heels, really, it was an offshoot from Hair ID. We went to the biggest hair show over in America, Bronner Brothers show, as part of our sort of research and development within Hair ID. And over there, we connected with some other business owners just to get an idea of what they were doing there. In America, everything feels bigger and at that time better. So we really wanted to find out what they were doing. And it was just the community aspect of business that we realized was missing here. And, on the plane back from Atlanta, Jen and I were just talking, and we said, we need to create that here. There are no networking opportunities for, independent business owners, females in particular, outside of the corporate world where you can just, connect with people. At that time, our business, so Hair ID, was also purely online, and it was a great opportunity for our customers to come and see us, the people behind the brand, and just have that personal connection. So it was really born out of that trip to Atlanta and just talking with other business owners over there.
Wonderful. And Jen, I suppose, I know you a little bit now. I'm guessing you probably had the business case all mapped out, the plan mapped out by the time you landed in Heathrow or Gatwick, whatever it was. Is that right?
Yes, definitely. There was, as Jay said, there was absolutely nothing like that outside of the corporate world, and also more of the experience. So, networking as we traditionally know it is very quite stuffy, awkward. But in Atlanta, it was almost like socializing with friends that didn't know each other, but, had something in common. So it was really important that we recreated that here. So our lunch events were actually hosted in a restaurant over a 3-course meal, cocktails, so really relaxed. And we often had many people coming in saying, gosh, do you all know each other? And then sometimes we get 60, 70 people in the restaurant. But, it just goes to show how much that was missing and was needed here, within the community. And we just sort of grew and grew and grew. To the point where we realized, gosh, this actually needs to become something more than just sort of a hobby on the side that, we were doing just because, we wanted to, kind of find out more about the community we're trying to serve with Hair ID.
That's so true. A lot of corporate events can be quite sort of stuffy and a little bit networky and a little bit sort of businessy, and you've got these costumes on that aren't really you, but, add cocktails and music into that mix, and how transformational is that, right? It becomes a bit of a party. And I'd really encourage you, if you haven't attended a Hustle and Heels event, to do that. It's great fun. Well, fantastic. And Jay, you're actually a corporate solicitor as well. Is that on the side, or is that the main job? And this is on the side. How do you make the time? That's a big job.
Yeah, so I practice law. Yeah, absolutely. That's sort of my 9 to 5, and then I work part-time in Hustle and Heels, and Jen works full-time in the business. So it's really that partnership that allows me to, have that 9 to 5.
So how long are you? So 9 to 5 in law, and then the other shift.
9 to 5. Yeah. Well. Yeah. I sort of So I work 9 to 5 in law, and then sort of pick Hustle and Heels up in the evening. So when I come home in the evenings, at the moment, with everything that's going on, I am furloughed from the 9 to 5. So that's great for me because I am really able to just get more immersed into the business. But as I say, because Jen's working in the business 9 to 5, we're able to balance things out to an extent on that level.
Yeah, well, Jen, don't get too used to it, right? So it's not going to be that available. Look, I just think you do such important work, and you are, surgical in the way that you target such a big pool of sadly untapped talent that just needs the oxygen to breathe. And in this time in particular, we're filming in June. We've seen the the atrocities that have been publicly shamed on social media that have really spurred a movement, Black Lives Matter. And I'd love to hear your personal accounts and your personal sentiments about that movement, maybe starting with you, Jen.
Gosh, yeah. I was speaking to a friend about, why this feels so intense, given everything that happened, because, Black people have been killed, murdered, for a long time. And, coupled with the fact that everyone was at home, the pandemic allowed, we sort of come to the conclusion, space to see things what they really were. I think a lot of us prior to that were almost sort of operating quite blind to what was going on unless we were directly impacted. But this one felt different. And, it allowed that space and that time to really sort of reflect and look back. And I think for a lot of us, brought up so much emotionally that we hadn't realized we had been suppressing for so long. Many of my friends that I speak to have just been so up and down, very emotional, men included, because said they hadn't really realized how much they had been overlooking person themselves here in the UK. So it has been really, really hard, on so many levels. But I think for me personally, that kind of bouncing between a sense of powerlessness, you know, and not like wanting to do so much and fix this, you know, very solutionary anyway in terms of approach, but just not feeling we know where to begin, what to do, which is hard. But then also thinking, right, well, I have to do something, you know, and you know, really looking within to just, you know, analyze what we have been doing and what we can do moving forward. So it's just been a whirlwind, you know, for so many of us. And I think really, as I said, opened up so much on a personal level. So, you know, it's just, yeah, it's been a whole different, you know, experience. And I'm hopeful, though, coming out of it. I think conversations have changed. People have started to, you know, realize that more needs to be done on so many different levels. So I am hopeful, and I just hope that, you know, we can continue to really sort of push for that change that is desperately needed.
100%. You know, my big learning and epiphany, I suppose, is that it's not okay just to object silently. You need to be actively part of it. Jay, I'm interested in your perspective. How do you think this movement relates to the movement that Hustle and Heels represents? Because there's something very positive that you're doing there already that kind of leans into the same cause.
Yeah, I think it's such an interesting time for big businesses and small businesses. You know, it's really forcing people to look at their processes, look at their strategies, look at how they're operating within the world, and you know, just reanalyze. I think it's been difficult for a lot of the businesses that we work with because you know, they've had to sort of make sure that they're being genuine and authentic with what they are putting out and having that sensitivity to what's going on in the world, and not sort of just paying lip service to what's happening to be seen to be doing something. So that's been a lot of the conversation that's been happening, you know, making sure that people are being authentic in what they're doing. In terms of Hustle and Heels, as you say, we have very much operated in the area of supporting underrepresented business owners, which within itself has tended to be Black females. And so it's really been, there hasn't been that shift for us in terms of what we do, because we've been doing it. That is what we've been doing for the 5 years that Hustle and Heels has been operating, but really working to support others to understand, okay, what can you do? How can you make sure that you're communicating what you're doing in an authentic way for people to recognize that A, this is maybe what you've been doing already, but let me amplify that, or B, if that hasn't been what you've been doing, you know, just look internally. You don't have to shout about the fact that now, you know, you're doing this, but actually look internally and make sure that the systems and processes are in there to ensure that things are accessible to all, understood by all, and you're really taking on the opinions and the experiences of other people. That's been really important. And I think for Hustle and Heels, one thing that we have done and are doing on a more consistent basis now is a sort of, we've always invested into the businesses from within the network, but we are now making a point of you know, actually purchasing products, services, and giving reviews and things like that within the communities, so that the business owners know that we are backing them financially. It's not just about what we saying, but we're putting our money where you know, our mouth is, in that sense. So that's probably the only change. But as I say, we've been doing this for 5 years plus, and so really there hasn't been that shift for us, but it's really about supporting people to make sure that the change, if change is necessary, is authentic within what business owners are doing.
I think it's such an important cause, and you know, on behalf of a generation of entrepreneurs, you know, thank you for what you're doing. I think it's so important, the work. We're hopefully coming out as the walls come down of COVID, but equally facing a pretty grim economic future, and in a post-Brexit United Kingdom, of course. What's your opinion on the role of entrepreneurship in economic recovery. By the way, can you hear that cat? I'll repeat the question. My cat.
Yeah.
I thought it was me. I was like,
He's here. It's Willow. If he comes close, I'll lift him up. Willow's lonely because I'm the only person in the house at the moment, so he's come up here. So the question, and I'll go over to you for this, Jen. Your opinion on the role of British entrepreneurship as we move into economic recovery.
Vital. It is vital. That's how we're going to. Oh, hello.
By the way, this is Willow.
Hello, Willow. But yeah, it's essential. It's funny. I graduated at the start of the last recession, and we knew instantly that job security was a thing of the past. And we were actually, I think that's the last thing I remember being told as I graduated. So always having something on the side, sort of navigating various jobs, being made redundant. I think I've been made redundant over 5 times now. So that's always been something that I've had to have on the side to just continue, to pay bills and things like that. So I think now more than ever, people are starting to realize that it's essential to have a way of generating an income. And really that's what Hustle and Heels has always been about, providing, people with ideas on how they can, start, improve and grow that into something tangible, so that, it's an additional stream of income, essentially. A lot of the business owners that we have, they've identified really amazing gaps within the communities that they're serving. But a lot of them, millennials, didn't necessarily start out with social media. I mean, Instagram didn't even exist when I graduated. So a lot of that knowledge isn't there. So really helping to equip them with that to, make that shift and adapt is so important to, ensure the survival of business moving forward. Given the current climate, everyone's had to move everything online. And I know for a lot of businesses that weren't technically savvy, really struggled as a result of not being able to make that shift or just not having the understanding of how to do that. So it's so vitally important that, we're really understanding the different channels that we can use and how to reach new markets, not necessarily also just focusing on London. Most of us think that that's the world, but being able to actually move things digitally now opens you up globally. And it's that mindset shift that we're really working with the entrepreneurs to see. But, as a whole, is really important to ensure the future, of businesses that do start up and, are able to scale. So vital. I definitely think that everyone should be thinking about a way to generate another stream of income, if entrepreneurship is, of course, for them.
100%. In fact, I was talking to one of your cohort the other day. It was a follow-up from one of your recent events, and she's a fitness instructor, and we were talking about exactly your point, Jen. No longer do you have the constraint of a class where you can have maybe 20 people in it or do one-on-one training. Pretty much anywhere in the corridor from Reykjavik down to Cape Town is in your time zone, and you can deliver to virtually. And of course, Hustle and Heels has pivoted also to a virtual format. Jay, can you tell us a little bit more about what Hustle and Heels offers to young entrepreneurs?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you already mentioned, we have the Marketing Masterclass, which is in conjunction with the British Library. So that initially was a class that Jen was delivering in 10 different libraries around London. But because of the lockdown, that's moved online. So that is now open to literally everyone, as you say. If you've got access to the internet, then you can access that Marketing Masterclass. And then in terms of our monthly meetups, so we used to have startup meetups every month, and those were held in physical events, but physical locations, but because again of the lockdown, we've pivoted and moved those online. So again, they're accessible to, a huge array of people. We've had people from Canada, over in America, in the Caribbean, people all over the world that said, I've watched you online on your socials and we haven't been able to tap into that before until now. So that pivot has been really great for us. And I expect going forward, we'll see a lot more events having a sort of hybrid nature where you know, there's the physical aspect, but also if you want to stream it, then people can also access it that way. So that's definitely something that I expect to happen going forward a bit more. And then in terms of our other offerings, we also have advisors. So we have various Hustle and Heels advisors who are able to just support entrepreneurs through various stages of their business journey. So whether it's that someone needs support with their social media, we've got someone on hand. If someone needs help on the legal side, we've got someone on hand. Well-being. So really helping people to understand that it's a holistic approach that needs to be taken if we're going to build these sustainable businesses. So we have that, and then we also have a membership offering which we are soon to launch, and that is really, again, just supporting people to understand the business side of things. As Jen was sort of saying, you know, things that are operating now in this entrepreneurial world may not have been around when people were studying, and so people that may just have a passion or what have you, they have that side of things, but actually you need the business skills to really make that fly. So that's what the membership is about, providing people with the information, the tools, you know, physical, tangible things that they can print off and fill out, and watch videos and just get that learning, have that community aspect, which again is online with sort of masterclasses and strategy sessions where we're coming together. So the membership is going to be really great in terms of supporting people through that business journey as well.
Well, it's a really rich and multifaceted offering, and Hustle and Heels, you heard it here, has gone global. Mother, you know, necessity, the mother of invention, right? And Jen, you mentioned you graduated at the time of the last recession, 2008 financial crisis, and some of the big unicorn businesses were born in that time, Revolut and many others, and I'm sure that will be true now. So time to seize the bull, you know, the bull by the horn, so to speak, and get on with it. If you're a corporation and you're interested in Hustle and Heels and supporting somehow, Jen, what's the best way of getting in touch with you?
Yeah, I mean, emails will probably be the best, also on LinkedIn as well. But yes, you know, we're really keen to speak to, you know, organizations that are really genuinely passionate about, you know, supporting the Black and minority ethnic business community here in the UK. Similarly, decision makers, influencers that essentially, you know, can get us around tables where we can actually advocate for that change ourselves. A lot of corporate organizations now are realizing that, you know, they need to do more. And I've heard, and some of them, you know, coming up with these pots of money that, you know, they're thinking of setting up their own thing. And as Jay mentioned, we have been doing this work for a long time. You know, we know, you know, our entrepreneurs, their needs. We spend a lot of time doing research with them to understand, you know, where they're at, what they need moving forward. So really, you know, having those conversations to you know, maybe channel some of that funding into the work that we are already doing. So really keen to speak to, as I said, corporate organizations, you know, decision makers that, you know, sort of have, you know, to essentially help us to sort of make that change and get us around those tables to be able to do that. And similarly, media as well. It would be really, really great to have conversations where, you know, we can start to get these businesses that have been, you know, building and creating amazing products and services in mainstream media. You know, often when we are spoken about, it's not necessarily in a positive light, but yet that's not really our experience. You know, we come across and speak to and work with amazing entrepreneurs and professionals, and, you know, seeing more of those in mainstream media is really an important part of the work that we do. So, you know, anyone within media that's, you know, willing to have that conversation, we have over 13,000 our community, online community is over 13,000. So there's a lot of us here, you know, so definitely being able to have those conversations as well. But email, website, we are, you know, eagerly waiting to have those conversations.
Very good. I'm going to link the details below. For those of you listening on a podcast, I'm pointing down, but you can also go down into the description and see those links there if you'd like to get in touch with Jay and Jen. Great note to finish on. So if you're a young entrepreneur, a British entrepreneur, or any other entrepreneur, I suppose, now you're global.
Yeah.
What closing advice would you have, starting with you, Jay?
Advice, I would say start now where you are with what you have. We can often have this sort of analysis paralysis where we just, you know, overanalyze things and we say we're not ready or this isn't ready and we're waiting for the stars to be aligned. It's fine. Just go and learn as you go along. So yeah, I would just say start now with what you have where you are.
Great advice. And Jem?
Ask questions. You know, that's obvious. That's honestly one of the biggest things that we have. People say, well, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do that. The information is there. You know, we have built up Hustle and Heels in a way where we have direct access on demand to experts. We've got the tools and the resources. So ask those questions, you know, and seek that help. We've got a really active WhatsApp group that we started to support entrepreneurs best through, you know, this current time. And the questions in there that they're asking and the responses that they're getting are moving them forward leaps and bounds in business. So ask questions. I can't stress that enough.
Great advice. So start now, no time like the present, and ask for help. You're both an absolute inspiration. Hustle and Heels is awesome. And I do encourage you to take a look at them if you haven't come across them before. Jay, you're the powerhouse behind it. Thank you so much for everything that you do. I really appreciate you having on the show. Thanks for joining me.
Oh, thank you very much as well, Craig.